I sold over $1.7 million in just 6 months on my dropshipping store by selling a baby bed. That's right, this thing right here. And no, trust me, I get it, less than 6 months sounds crazy and made up. But as long as you stay with me, I'm about to let you in on everything that went into running this life-changing store, plus what needs to be done today in 2023 to help you drive some serious results too. It's going to be a journey, trust me. I say that because this was not something that was done overnight, nor was it the first product that I tested. I had to learn and make mistakes, more than I'd like to admit to. But through all that trial and error, I was able to change my life. And that's exactly what I'm hoping to help you do too. So let's start at chapter 1. Just like many of you feel, I felt like finding a winning product was like looking for a needle in a haystack. And because I felt like that, I didn't put too much time into it. Mistake number 1. When I was initially doing product research, I would be choosing pretty much anything that I thought looked cool or had the potential to sell. There was no real rhyme, reason, or strategy as to what I was deciding to be my winning product. And to be real with you, it took me some time to realize this is why they all flopped. After months of testing random product after random product and losing money that at that time I really couldn't afford to lose, I gave in. I saw people doing insane numbers with the products that they were selling, which was all the more reason that I knew I had to keep going. But I had to do something different. I needed to focus on the product I was selling and why I was selling them. I mean, it literally all hit me at once. I was sitting there wondering why I just lost another $200 in testing. And then I finally understood. It was because the customer had no reason to buy the product that I was selling. This product solved no purpose or problem. So from that moment, I started building a product validation process that would lead me to the baby bed that changed my life forever. And this exact validation process would be the building blocks that have helped dropshipping beginners to this day generate life-changing sales too. It all really started with paying attention to what products were already doing well for other dropshippers. And what I noticed was that the product almost always solved a problem or had some wow factor about it that was undeniable. And they were always getting some really good engagement with the likes, the comments, and shares. After taking these two things into account, when I went back to do product research, the products that were now catching my eye were completely different than the ones that I was trying to sell. They actually held value and could help people in their everyday lives. With just a simple shift in perspective and some focused and strategized product research, I was on the verge of changing my life forever. And the same could be happening for you very soon because the same rules apply with an additional few. So take a look at how you're doing product research and make sure it is checking off this list. Starting off with number 1, customers can see value in it because it has some sort of problem solving or wow factor about it. 2, there's engagement happening on the ads within the last couple of minutes, hours, or days. 3rd, it's falling in line with the current trend or season that's happening. And 4th and lastly, there's competitors selling it right now or they have around this time in the past. And if you're marking off at least 3 of those 4 requirements, you're on the right path to testing your own life-changing products. But if not, I dropped this video so that you know exactly how to get on that path. Now, once I found the baby bed and ultimately decided to start testing it, that's when I quickly found out how important understanding your data was. My $100 days turned to $1,000 days, and $1,000 days started hitting $10,000 days pretty quickly, and it just kept going. Before I knew it, I started seeing numbers that I thought were impossible to reach within my first year of dropshipping, let alone my first 6 months. I mean, this product took off, but at the same rate that I was making money, I was spending a nice little penny too. I wanted to make sure that I kept the store going and that I did not fall off from it. So I was basically reinvesting about 30 to 50% of my profits back into running ads at that time. And even though I made a really good decision by reinvesting, I needed to understand what the numbers were telling me more so I could scale more efficiently and not waste money on ads that were not profiting anything for me. And once I realized that some of my ad sets were costing me, I knew I had to figure out a way to stop that from happening. And this is what I like to call emotional spending. Emotional spending is when you allow ad sets to continue to spend because they're giving you purchases, but they're not helping you break even or let alone profit. If you've made sales before, then you know that letting go of some of the assets can be hard. And if you haven't, just wait till you do. But if you want to continue to make money long term, then you have to understand what your data is telling you and what you need to be making to be profiting. So I studied each metric and what they meant until I knew them like the back of my hand. And they made sense to what I was seeing on the back end. And once I understood them, I already knew how they needed to perform, which helped me create the KPI chart, or a key performance indicator chart that I use and give out to my students to this day. Creating this KPI chart was probably one of my more pivotal moves throughout selling this baby bed. This chart has obviously got better with time, but but at the time I was advertising the baby bed, it showed me everything that I needed to know. From what I was willing to spend to get my first added cart, to my first initiate checkout, all the way to my first purchase. These numbers were all coming based off of what I was selling the product for to the customers and what I was getting the product for from my supplier. And from that moment, this same chart helped me cut the ad sets that were just draining me money and using that same money on scaling ad sets that were working the best for me. As I said, this is something that we still use heavily within my one-on-one mentorship to make sure that you're never wasting money in the wrong direction. So if some personalized one-on-one guidance and success tools like this KPI chart is something that you're looking to have as we move into the most profitable time of the year for online sellers, make sure you go ahead and click the link down in my description, apply for my one-on-one coaching, and book your free discovery call with the limited spots that we have available. Now with this data on my side, this is when I was able to really start to separate myself and begin to build a brand with the ads that I was running. Not only did I start getting content created and running ads that surrounded my brand and this product, but I was reaching audiences bigger than I've ever reached before with something I like to call no interest campaigns. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So as you can see, when you're using targeted ads towards groups of people who might be interested in your product, you might be reaching a couple million people. For example, I was targeting one of these interests called eBay, and you can see it gave me a range of 29.6 to 34.8 million people I could reach. Now, do not get me wrong. That is still an insane amount of people to have the potential to reach with your ads. But let me show you something real quick. Watch what happens when I go ahead and click on this X button, take the interest out, and select no interest. Now you have the potential to reach hundreds of millions of people. And once I did this simple change, my brand started to absolutely blow up. People were doing reviews on YouTube, Pinterest, Google. I mean, it was everywhere. And with it blowing up, the demand for the product was blowing up too, which will lead me to my next hurdle, my supplier. Because I just went with whatever supplier had the product that I was selling at the cheapest price, I forfeited almost all product quality and supplier reliability without even knowing it. And even when my product started taking off, I was so amazed at what was happening that I didn't see what was coming for me until some of the first customers started receiving their packages. The chargebacks, angry emails, and negative reviews started coming in. And that's when I knew I had a whole nother problem. I could not continue to keep selling something as the brand that I was becoming that had low quality and that did not solve the problem that customers thought they were going to be able to be solved from buying my product. So what I had to do was I had to take some pretty quick action to correct what had just happened. I went to look at the supplier that I had, and I noticed a couple things that I was kicking myself for not noticing or caring to notice before using them. They had a pretty low store rating, meaning others had already rated them to have poor communication, poor product quality, and slow shipping speeds. So with that information, I went out there to go look for the complete opposite in the next supplier I was gonna work with. And look, I was playing no games at this time. At this point, I already found out the hard way about how important a supplier is to your store success. So when I went out there to look for a new one, not only was I looking to see that they had a high feedback rating, but I also made sure that they had hundreds of orders that they fulfilled. They've been a supplier for over a year to make sure they had some experience, and I even started reaching out to them to make sure they could fulfill the needs of my store and get proof that they could. This turned into something that I call supplier validation. And to this day, my team and I show students how to do it and get it done the right way so that you never run into the same rookie mistakes that I did. Now, the suppliers that I was reaching out to were all still from AliExpress. And I want to address this because there is a common misconception from beginners that you can't use suppliers from AliExpress if you want to be successful. And this is simply just not true. AliExpress is the perfect platform to use as you're testing products and finding one that works for you. But you still want to make sure the supplier that you work with on AliExpress is meeting those validation requirements in case you find yourself hitting $10,000 days a little sooner than you anticipated, like me. Now, once you start making consistent sales with a product and you know you want to get past the testing phase, that's when you should be looking for something called a private supplier. A private supplier is going to work on the back end of your store and fulfill the products to your customers in a quicker and more automated process. Meaning it's just taking away the manual labor that you have to do, and it helps you compete with bigger businesses that have faster shipping. Once I started working with mine, I went from 15 to 20 day delivery to 5 to 8 days with better product quality, which helped me just get better reviews, and more satisfied customers, which ultimately allowed me to continue to keep scaling up and competing in the market. Now, back when I first started dropshipping, I had to manually reach out to each and every supplier till I found one that worked for me, that met the demands that my store had and the expectations that I had. But today, they make it much easier for you to obtain private suppliers. white labeling, faster shipping, and more reliable product quality so that you can continue to keep building your brand effortlessly. Apps like AutoDS allow you to use them directly as your private supplier, and that just adds a level of automation to your store that cannot be beaten, especially while you're growing. They do this with a service called Fulfilled by AutoDS, which means they're fulfilling every order that comes in, sending out confirmations, and dealing with any returns or refunds that might come your way. So if automation while you grow is something you're looking for while running your dropshipping store, this is a company that I swear by. And I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link down in my description so you can try them out for a limited time with 30 days free. Now, dropshipping projected my life in a way that I did not see coming. And the truth of the matter is that it can do the same for you. It's gonna take some grit and consistency, but that's not unlike any other business venture that you might pursue. I mean, I literally just walked you through some of the most pivotal moments of my journey to reaching $1.7 million in just 6 months, each of which had a key learning moment for me within it. I did not give up when things got hard. I knew that I wanted to succeed with this business, and I'd have no other option but to succeed if I kept going and kept evolving. If that's the mindset that you have, and you know that you're giving yourself no other option but to succeed, then take this video as your sign to start that store. And you can also gain a community of other individuals on that same path of success inside my free success Discord channel by clicking the link down in my description or in my pinned comment. I cannot wait to see every single one of you go crazy during the most profitable time of the year for online sellers, which is coming up in just 2 weeks. And look, I'm going to be dropping some valuable gems on this channel leading up to it, so make sure you're subscribed and turn your post notifications on. Until then, I'll see you all next week. This is AC with Supreme Ecom, and I'm out.
They gon' want a piece when you got it like that. Like Jake said, we gon' spend it.